Manchester City, Pep Guardiola and the machine, they still, of course, are searching for a Champions League trophy, but a lot has happened. Gabriel Jesus is off to Arsenal, so no more false nine now. Okay, it's Erling Haaland time. A very, very good, very versatile, very strong, but very demanding number 9. So the first question to you is, and we're going to talk about the squad, but can Pep Guardiola adapt his style? What's it going to look like with Haaland?
So the last time Pep played, and I'm gonna go way back beyond Bayern Munich. This kind of reminds me of a move that Pep made in 2010 with the one Zlatan Ibrahimovic, true number 9, and they had one in Samuel Eto'o, but true number 9, one that could hold the ball up, do a bit of everything. Haaland reminds me a bit of that. He's got more pace than Zlatan does, and Pep didn't quite adapt to that. And that Barcelona team still, just scored a ton of goals. But it was a bit disruptive because the one thing that Zlatan had that maybe Samuel Eto'o didn't have as big of, a massive ego. Erling Haaland has a big ego for a young man, and he is very vocal, just like Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So I kind of, throw a little bit of caution in this. In terms of ability, I think he's amazing talent, one of the top 2 strikers in the world, if not top 3 in the world, healthy or not. But the ego part, I just wonder how that's going to play out.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I guess the fact that Pep Guardiola is your manager helps, right? Pep Guardiola is no stranger to dealing with egos and big names. And to your point, he's young, but he's very, very good. And he's more than just a poacher, but he's excellent inside the box. So I guess that's where we led with our question. So with that being said, Michael, Raheem Sterling, reportedly off to Chelsea, getting closer. We'll see how that develops. Of course, Gabriel Jesus is gone. He was playing not even central anymore. He was false nining it, but there were times when he was like wide out, of course. And you still got the likes, of course, of Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden. Of course, we'll talk about Jack Grealish in a second, and even deeper on. And Julian Alvarez, by the way, which is going to be just a revelation as well. So how's this Man City going to look? And there's, by the way, Ortega, of course, the goalkeeper. We'll see what happens with Zach Steffen. But Erling Haaland and Julian Alvarez being announced, being presented to the Man City fan base. How does it fit then? Erling Haaland leading the way. What are you seeing around him?
So when you talk about the playing style and the adaptability on the field for Pep, now they have a focal point that they haven't had probably since Sergio Aguero. Aguero much more mobile, but Haaland can move as well. The thing that Haaland is going to have to adapt to in this system is not dropping back so deep, because that can clog up spaces for the Kevin De Bruyne's, the Bernardo Silva's in the middle of the park. And he's going to make his money, his big money, in the box when the ball gets wide. For Manchester City, they have players who can cross the ball. Phil Foden can whip in a ball. Kevin De Bruyne can whip in any sort of service. And this is a player who thrives off of service. Julian Alvarez, he can also thrive off service. He's a player more that can function, though, as a second striker, function more in that false 9 role. He's an out-and-out striker. I think the one thing with City, when I think about all the talent coming in, also the talent going out, they've lost depth at that winger position. Now you are banking on Riyad Mahrez and Phil Foden to have just consistent seasons. And they had probably their 2 best seasons yet. And Riyad Mahrez is Mr. Champions League for Manchester City. So in terms of goals, they've actually gotten better in front of the goal, adding Erling Haaland and Julian Alvarez. It's just that depth out wide that I think these 2 losses of Jesus and Sterling is kind of impacted.
Yeah, so to that point, let's talk about Jack Grealish, because he's going to be a major, it's fair to say that he had a quiet first debut season with Manchester City, something that he probably didn't expect. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's just getting used to a new system and, to your point, the depth in Manchester City. But Jack Grealish now entering the second year, I'm expecting that Man City fans are expecting a big season for him, specifically in the Champions League, in big matches. How do you see Jack Grealish year 2?
I see an improvement in him. One, I hope that he can sober up from his holiday in Ibiza as well as he should, because he's
in Greece right now as well. Now I think
Greece.
He's moving all over Europe.
Is that where you're actually doing the show from? Are you hanging out?
Yeah, he's right.
Jackie
boy. Me and Jack have still a very sensitive relationship. I can't. It's like when you break up with a really serious ex-girlfriend. I can't talk to him right now. But listen, one thing is, I expect Jack to have. the thing is, for his entire career, he's always been the magnet to the ball. That's not a Man City play, so he has to get used to that. But I think that this will be a very good year for Jack Grealish, specifically in the big occasions, in the tournaments, in the Champions League, etc.
So I was thinking about this when preparing for the show, and I actually think maybe a positional change might suit him better.
Right?
Jack Grealish is not just a winger. In his last couple of years at Villa for the English national team, he's been played as a winger to kind of make space for other players. I wonder if what it would look like to play center midfield in this Manchester City team.
Yeah, as an 8.
As an 8. I think that actually suits him better than how Manchester City's wingers play, because they're sometimes isolated out wide, and that creates running lanes for your center midfielders. And Jack Grealish, he can time runs forward, winding the clock back even further to how he started his career, more as a central midfielder.
Yeah, and to that point, speaking of central midfielders, they grabbed Calvin Phillips from Leeds United. How's that going to fit in? Because obviously we're talking about Kevin De Bruyne, Rodrigo, of course. I mean, that midfield as well is kind of self-understood, Bernardo Silva. So how's Calvin Phillips going to fit in all this?
I think you're going to get a bit more steel, athleticism in the middle of the park through Calvin Phillips and cover. Rodri, I'm shocked at how he didn't make Team of the Year for the Premier League last year. I think it was highway robbery to not put him and put Thiago in there. Thiago is an exceptional footballer. Thiago played 2 months well. Rodri, I think he was one of the unsung heroes, if not the unsung hero, for this Manchester City Premier League winning side. But getting Calvin Phillips in, you have an England international, you have a player who I think is ready to step up to this level. And I think in the cup competitions is where he can really get his confidence going. And you never know players' health. So you need depth at that defensive midfield position. He's a astute passer, and his runs forward, he can make the odd run forward that maybe Rodri can't consistently. But Rodri scored a bunch of goals last year, surprised everyone.
Yeah, absolutely right. This is what I think, and we'll move on to Liverpool in a second, but this is what I think about Manchester City and these signings. And I'm sure they're not even done, probably. Maybe, one more player will come in. But the Premier League is a set thing for them. Pep Guardiola understands it. He knows how he has to rotate, specifically week by week. The Champions League is, I think, where these specific players, specifically Erling Haaland, because for a long time, Michael, I've said, look, the thing about Man City is it's kind of like the horse goes to water every time in the Champions League. It cannot finish the drink. It can't drink it. I think with Erling Haaland, finally, because you have to win ugly sometimes in those real tough, rough matches, specifically in the knockout stages, when you get physicalized or when you get shocked, just like Real Madrid did, of course, on more than one occasion against Manchester City. You need somebody that can just get the job done. I mean, if you remember Jack Grealish, had he had scored that goal against Real Madrid, maybe it would have been a different narrative. Erling Haaland is a player that will get that done. I think it's about getting that done, and Pep Guardiola finally getting the Champions League trophy that he wants with Manchester City.